We are just under 2 months away from Milford's 2016 town elections. Starting just before the holidays, we started to see some of the potential races take shape. That picture has come into much clearer focus now as the deadline to return nomination papers passed earlier this week. We now know there will be 4 contested races on this year's ballot. To find out more on these contested races, I sat down with Milford TV and Town Crier contributor Kevin Rudden. And we are happy to be joined on the Milford Informer this evening by someone who needs no introduction to our Milford TV audience, one of our most loyal members, Kevin Rudden, of course, host of 30 Minutes with the Town Crier, and of course you'll be one of our panelists again this year on our live Selectman Forum, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Kevin, we wanted to have you on the Milford Informer this week to talk about election time. Things starting to come more into focus now as all nomination papers have been returned. The deadline passed earlier this week, and so it looks like now we have 4 contested races that have emerged coming up for the April ballot.
Yeah, first, Tim, thanks for asking me on. And we have the Selectmen's race, School Committee, Park Commission, and the perennial favorite, the Board of Library Trustees, which always seems to have a race.
That's right. I've had a chance now to cover a couple of elections here in Milford, and it always seems like that one develops as sort of an interesting race. And you and I were just talking about it off camera, but a lot of late entrance into this race with 3 challengers pulling nomination papers right before the deadline.
Yeah, well, you had two members whose terms were up. That's John Burns and Ron Osier. Ron Osier decided not to run again. I don't think John Burns took his papers out till like a week or 2 before the deadline, and then within the last week before the deadline, you had 3 other people came in: former trustee Rory D'Alessandro and 2 newcomers, Christine Crean and Jessica Espinoza. So
it should be an interesting race, obviously, with the incumbent, 3 challengers, 2 seats open there on that race.
Right.
And then we have Park Commissioner, where you have the incumbent Paul Pellegrini and now Cesar Camoli, who is running against him.
Newcomer.
So where are sort of the interesting factors that voters will be looking at when it comes to Park Commissioner?
I don't really know if there are. It's not a controversial post.
Sure.
I don't think it ever has been. And I think it comes down to Paul Pellegrini's incumbent, and then I think it comes down to Mr. Camoli saying basically, here's what I would do different or better. That's my role as an incumbent. Somebody has to demonstrate, what are you going to do different or better? And Paul hasn't been on it all that long, so it's not like, he's been on, 20 years and people got tired of him. I think he's in his either first or second term. So, it'd just be an interesting race.
Sure, and I know the challenger, Mr. Camoli, has mentioned some things about looking into changing up holiday lighting displays, so he's already starting to talk about a few.
That's not really under the Park Commission, but, we'll see.
I guess we will see, and of course then we get to the heavy hitters of the election coming up.
Selectmen and School Committee.
Absolutely. We'll start with the School Committee. We've got four people on the ballot for 2 open seats. Of course, you have only 1 incumbent in Joe Marias with another challenger that we'll get to, Patrick Holland, who has switched over.
Pat opted to go to run for selectman against Brian Murray, but I think the School Committee is an interesting race because it's probably a given that Marias will get reelected. He's an incumbent. He seems to be well liked. No controversy there. And you look at the field that's running, and you have some interesting people running against him.
Yeah, we have a lot of names that people are going to recognize. You have Mike Visconti, who of course ran for a seat on the Board of Selectmen unsuccessfully last year. Scott Vecchiola, who threw his hat into the ring for School Committee last year, did not make it. And then you have Jim Legore, who is also a challenger in this too. So a lot of options for voters to choose from.
Well, you have to look at the people. Jim Legore is a known quantity, served for at least a decade on the Personnel Board. Is known for that, active in youth sports with his kids. Sort of quiet but well-spoken guy. So at least people know the name. Mike Visconti, anybody in town politics knows the name from frequently speaking at town meetings, running for selectman 2 or 3 times over the last couple of years. And Scott Vecchiola, ran for school committee before, and he used to run for library commissioner, a library trustee quite a bit. So I mean, people that are known, and it's anybody's guess which of the three would get in. I'm going to give an edge to Joe Marias just because he's an incumbent and there seems to be no dissatisfaction with him. So then it's a question of James Legore, Mike Visconti, or Scott Vecchiola for the other person.
Certainly going to be one that's going to be interesting for us to watch in our election coverage. And of course, Milford TV, as we have done the last couple of years, will have live election night coverage. We'll be live from Town Hall. Kevin, I'm sure you'll be part of it again as well with Al Correa.
And just the comment on that is, don't forget that when Mike Visconti's run for selectman, he's pulled between 800 and 1,000 people.
Sure.
So, he's got the name recognition to do that if people see him in a school committee role. I mean, you can't guarantee that same number of votes from the selectman to the school committee because
Absolutely.
I think people were voting for the fiscal conservative type guy for selectman. I don't know if they feel that's needed on the school committee.
It's true. And we have to, of course, get to the main event of this election coming up, which should be a real fascinating race to continue to watch develop. That is for one vacancy or one seat up for re-election on the Board of Selectmen, where current chair Brian Murray will be facing off against Patrick Holland. These are two very known commodities in the town.
And I was going to say the main event is a good term for it because
Yes.
you have two, what I would consider forceful speakers.
Sure.
Brian and Murray is a formidable debater, and sometimes he hasn't had opponents because people say they just didn't want to take him on. But Pat Holland is not afraid to speak his mind, and just from a debating standpoint, I'm looking forward to seeing the two of them engage.
It should be great, and there's obviously some issues that are going to be at the forefront of people's mind looking at the selectman race, whether it's the bus transportation system, whether it's with Patrick Holland. He's talked a lot about downtown revitalization. So there's
Right.
a lot of interesting issues, and it will be fascinating to see where voters fall and where they put their support.
It will be, and Brian's got, I'm trying to think of what term this is, but let's say at least 12 years, if not more, of experience on the board and knows, the history of a lot of issues. Pat's tenure has been on the school committee, and certainly you build up, knowing a lot of people. He comes from a political family. His father was on the school committee before him. His uncle is former State Senator Lou Bertnazzi. There's politics in the family. He's a strong speaker, and it'd be very interesting to see he and Brian engage in a discussion.
And speaking of having opportunities to see these candidates engage, once again here on Milford TV, we're going to give our viewers just that, an opportunity to see these two candidates for the Board of Selectmen speak their mind on the issues in what's going to be our second annual Milford TV Selectmen Forum. We'll have it live here on Milford TV coming up on Monday, February 29th. It will be on air from 7 to 8 p.m. Kevin, you're going to be
yes,
a
and
part
that
of
was
our...
repeated for right up till the election.
That's right. We'll have it live on air on the 29th, but it will continue to air on Milford TV. It'll also be available after it's aired on YouTube as well. And
Right.
It will be Kevin, yourself, along with Al Correa and John Tian as our Milford TV member panel of experts, as we like to call you. You'll each be asking a series of questions to the candidates, so an opportunity for you guys to really look at some of the issues that are really important coming into this election and get these candidates to speak openly about their opinions and their intentions.
Right, it should be interesting because you get to have the both candidates answering the same question, and then posed by counting you 4 different people, so you get a variety of questions. I don't want to use the word collude. We do chat beforehand so that we don't overlap on questions.
Sure.
And we each take our turn. But I think it's a great opportunity, for the members of what I would call the public affairs shows, the All Politics is Local, that Milford show in 30 minutes, and of course the Milford Informer to get together and pose some questions.
So again, here on Milford TV, Monday, February 29th, we will have both selectmen candidates in here being questioned by our panel of experts, a live selectmen forum here from 7 to 8 p.m. on February 29th. So make sure you tune into that. And of course, 30 minutes with the Town Crier, I'm sure is going to have plenty of candidate information as well.
We're actually, instead of going every 2 weeks during March and April, actually mid-February, March, and right up to April 1st, we've gone weekly interviewing the selectmen and school committee candidates, each with their own half hour.
That's excellent. So a wealth of information here on Milford TV so that the voting public, again, can be as educated as possible on these candidates heading into the April election. So it's going to be interesting to continue to watch these races. The campaigns will certainly ramp up now that we know the contested races, and should be a fascinating election season here in Milford.
Absolutely, and look forward to see how it turns out.
All right. Well, again, Kevin Rudden from the Town Crier, from 30 Minutes with the Town Crier. We appreciate your coming on the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate being asked.
Hey, everybody. This is Tim Coette. Make sure you check out full episodes of the Milford Informer on Milford TV. New episodes air every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. and then re-air frequently over the course of the weekend. Milford TV can be found on Comcast Channel 8 and Verizon Channel 38. And if you live in the Milford area and have an idea for a news story, you can contact us at news@milfordtv.net.